Howdy, everyone. I'm Madison Crews, and I am here with head coach and chief sporting officer Darren Sawatzky for the Richmond Kickers. So, how you doing, Darren?
Doing great. Good to be here. Thanks, Madison.
Absolutely. So, let's go ahead and talk about last season with the Richmond Kickers. You guys finished in 11th at the end of the season. What were some of the biggest takeaways that you took from the 2023 season?
Well, it was a tough, the prior year we won the league. We were the 2022 Players Shield champions and we made it to the semifinals and the playoffs. So it was a quality season. We lost 9 guys, of which 5 of them moved into MLS organizations. So that's a positive, but when you rebuild in the year that they bring in a CBA and you don't add to the budget, it makes it a little bit difficult. So we struggled a little, but we have a long-term plan.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest emphasis on rebuilding is how difficult it can be in that rebuilding process. So, I mean, to walk us through kind of what that looks like from a standpoint of not only as a head coach, but as the chief sporting officer. How does it look when you have to rebuild something like that?
Well, we could talk for a long time about that. Like, yeah, I've been involved in pro soccer for 30 years. And what I would say to you is there are a lot of different ways to do it. And so many teams in the United States ecosystem have folded in professional soccer, right? Because it costs so much to do this. And, everybody loves promotion relegation, but if there's no TV money when you move up, you don't get millions of dollars for being promoted. So it actually costs you more. So to answer your question specifically, we decided that we were going to work to become a selling club. And what that means is we want to mirror what lower league professional clubs do around the world. We want to develop our own players through an academy. We want to sign them to first team contracts, and then we want to move them on. Part of the 2023 issue we had in winning games was that we had 3 and 4 and 5, 16 and 17-year-olds on the field for the second half of the season. And where that's great, they're much better this year. It's hard to ask a 17-year-old youth player to compete against a veteran pro.
Absolutely. And I mean, you talk a lot about the development process of many of these players, building them from the ground up and then allowing them to move on professionally. You've done that a lot, especially with players like Jordan Morris and DeAndre Yedlin. How important is it to develop players not only at this level, but all levels in total, bringing them up from the academy, even from club, as well as high school?
Well, the reality for a professional club, if you want to survive, you have to do it. It's your lifeblood. You're not selling out 70,000 seat stadiums everywhere. So, in order to keep clubs sustainable and be able to handle the operating costs, you have to develop and sell players on. It's the way it's done all around the world. It's how all the small clubs survive. So, we have to mirror that in the United States. It's not, it's evolving. Players are turning pro at 16 rather than hitting the college route more and more. So, it's something that we have to do. And when you're developing players, there's a decision you have to make. It's sometimes you have to have a short-term loss for a long-term gain. And in professional sports, that could be a little unforgiving because sometimes coaches don't necessarily keep their jobs because where that team might be very good a couple years from the time that a couple years from now. Right now, if you're not winning games, owners and fans, they get disgruntled, and so you got to have a bit of both. And to be very clear, we're developing players day to day. We're also trying to win trophies at the same time.
Absolutely. And your first match is this Saturday, March 16th, against Spokane Velocity. How have you guys been preparing to face off against that team for your first time in the regular season?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's just such a crazy question because you take a team like Spokane, there's other teams in our league, Lexington, Madison, Colorado, Knoxville. These teams are spending a lot more money than we are. We're a community team that punches above our weight. That's how our owner likes to put it. So we have to be very creative in the way that we prepare. Spokane has a former MLS All-Star on their team. They have USL Championship players that Lee Vedman has brought in. So they're a good group of players. So we can't do it the same way. We can't buy the level of player in terms of monetary units, but what we can do is go after character and culture. So what we do is we get a good group of guys, a good cohesive group, that good group of young players that are coming up, because players that you develop in your own house will never let you down. So we have a great group. So the way we prepare is as a group. There's no individual here. There's no one special guy. There's no superstar. Even though we've had a league MVP here for a few years, you're still, everybody puts the work in. So we're ready for the competition, but it'll be quite the challenge to open for them in Spokane.
I mean, I've talked to other coaches as well, I guess, throughout the league. And one of the biggest things is that how crazy talented each of these teams are in USL League One, how crazy the competition is. So going into a season like this, you have players who've competed at all levels in this league. How do you combat that going into every game, knowing that it's going to be this very big competitive battle?
Yeah, there's a lot of parity in our league. Emiliano Terzaghi played for Banfield against Boca Juniors in Argentina. Zaka Moran was a captain of the Argentine U20 national team. So we have some quality players, just like other teams. We've had to be creative in how we bring them in, but it comes down to matchups, and understanding. The other thing too that I don't think people realize is, you have travel components, you have fields like Omaha, you play on a little postage stamp in a baseball field. Spokane will be on turf. Half the teams are on turf. It's every game's a little bit different because it plays differently. So, we try to prepare as best we can. And usually after the first few games of the season, we have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, and another added challenge for you guys is also going to be playing in the Open Cup. You guys have your first match only a couple days after your regular season opener on March 20th. How do you as a coach balance the Open Cup schedule as well as regular season play?
Man, what a crazy question. I've been involved in the Open Cup as an MLS player, an MLS coach, and an MLS Academy director, all kinds of things. I've been involved in the USL as a player, as a coach. And when you're the underdog, it's a little bit different than when you're the big dog. The last couple of years we played Charlotte FC and DC United, so it's a great challenge for us. And similar to us, next Wednesday we play Christos, who's a team who's actually beat the Richmond Kickers prior to me being here, but they beat them, I believe, in 18 or 19. And the reality for us is that we don't have a big roster. Again, you go back to that, so we have to be very careful in how we train the players to try to keep guys healthy, and we got to use the bench. So you better make sure that you picked very well all the way through 18, 19, 20, because you're going to need them. We're pretty confident that it'll be a good tournament. And just to be honest, we're so excited to be part of the US Open Cup. Teams that aren't participating in it, it's just so unfortunate, because I know that all the players and coaches want to be a part of this thing.
Yeah, and I mean, you even talked about it too. I mean, just being a part of it. I've always loved the Open Cup. It's one of my favorite things to watch. I think just because you get to see so many different leagues and teams kind of compete against each other. Like, I mean, you mentioned you faced off against Charlotte and then DC United. Getting to see you guys come off and face teams like that. I mean, and especially when you guys win against an MLS team. I mean, that kind
Yeah.
of fuels the fire a little bit of like just that it's always so fun to watch.
I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the minor league team that's won it. I actually was a player in the '99 U.S. Open Cup final for Colorado when we lost to Rochester. So we had the distinction of being the last MLS team to lose to a lower league team in a final. But I also like there's some pageantry and romance to this whole thing, like the FA Cup in England and all of these things. People live for these. The whole communities live for this, and to try to take that away from people is a bummer. That's why I'm so happy to be a part of a club that really supports it and are going to do it. And lastly, every one of us do this to chase trophies. Like we love the game, we love the people, we love the relationships. We're chasing trophies, and it's another opportunity to chase one. So why not?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But one of the things I want to talk about too is not only are you the head coach, you're also the chief sporting officer. So how do you balance both of those aspects of your job?
Yeah, I don't. I'm a bit of a control freak, probably like a lot of coaches. But when it comes to player contracts and all of that, because our budget's so unique, I have to be very careful. You're trying to make a dollar out of a dime all the time, so you're playing money ball and you're trying to do things. Having the ability to do both of the contracts and coach, gives me the ability to really have an understanding of the budget process, where people are, and it also gives you an idea of who people are. Right? We have people on our team that are making, a lot of guys are making league minimum. So we also help them find coaching. We help their wives find jobs outside of the game. I mean, it's a whole all hands on deck kind of thing. And it's all day, everything, because you're managing the team, you're putting together training. It's every day, but I have a really great staff. And Richmond's a really awesome city, and this is such a storied club.
I also feel like what you do in like both aspects, it kind of helps you, I feel like, get to know the players too, even before they come and they start playing under you. They already know who you are and they know what the culture and what you're trying to set up.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I had some failures in 2023, unfortunately, because we try to grow and expand and see if we can get better. And to be honest, in 24, we've gone back to what we've always done. We interview guys for literally a couple hours. We call every single person we know about them. We come back. We have multiple touch points to make sure. We watch them play a lot. We have to make sure we get it right, because if we don't, then we have a season like 23 that none of us enjoy.
And I know that I was doing a little bit of research looking at the Kickers and everything like that. But one of the things that you tried to do, especially when you came here, was establish a type of culture, which I feel like you have already with just the little time you've been with Richmond. But what type of culture do you want to establish since you've been here? What do you want to continue on as you continue head coaching over there?
I feel like the word culture or family or together, all of these things, they're more punchlines for people. They're taglines. And for us, I use the analogy of a house. Culture is the foundation. Without the foundations, there's no walls, there's no door, there's no roof. There's certainly no paint or flowers in the front flower bed, right? It's the starting point. So you got to get the people first. Like, you got to get the right people. We want to be an asset to the community of Richmond. We have 6,000 fans that come to every game. And 99% of that, yeah, they want us to win games, but it's more the personal connection with good people. So culture is related to the people. I say to people all the time that good programs with bad people don't do so well. Bad programs with good people do fine, and good programs with good people do great. And we're trying very hard to be a good program with good people. We know that we have that. People like playing here. Of course, everybody'd love to make lots more money, but the reality is that careers are short, and we want the experience to be good here.
Of course. Well, Coach, I again just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me. Well, I know that we're all excited. USL League One's already kind of kicked off, but we're excited to see what you guys do when you guys start play this weekend. And we're excited to see you guys go through the Open Cup as well. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Appreciate it, Madison. We're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for the coverage.